All right, here we are, September 26th. It is a Monday, and it is episode number 666 today. 666, the number of the beast. Yes. I cannot believe that I have done 666 episodes of Let There Be Talk over the last 11 years, and I have slowly clicked off dream guests. I cannot even believe the guests I've had on this show. I book the show, I edit the show, I record the show, and it has been a lot of fucking hard work, but the daily emails and the Patreon support just really make me feel like I'm doing the right thing. I love what I'm doing, and the people out there are loving it. So we carry on. Today we have a very special guest. Back in 1982, 83-ish, I heard this band, Mercyful Fate. It was one of the most original sounding bands and scariest bands I had ever heard. I was listening to Sabbath, Iron Maiden, Saxon, AC/DC, Judas Priest, but when I heard Mercyful Fate, I couldn't really believe what I was hearing. I was actually, like 17, 18 years old, but I was kind of spooked by it and intrigued. There's always that thing of when you're a young male teenager, you're looking for danger. I'm living on the edge. And listening to Mercyful Fate definitely was a soundtrack to danger and also originality. Here's this band that, just out of nowhere, it seemed like, started influencing all kinds of bands, especially in the Bay Area. And Magic Night came in 1984 when this band was on tour. They played the Kabuki, Death Angel opened, King Diamond came out, and the game was changed. Everybody that saw that show and that tour was witnessing some of the greatest metal ever. So to finally get to sit down with King Diamond and talk about the history of Mercyful Fate and the King Diamond records and how he started singing, his influences, the artwork, the stages, everything, all things King Diamond today for over 2.5 hours. And man, this is a great in-depth interview. Thank you, King Diamond. And go see the Mercyful Fate tour. They're heading out on tour in October. Lots of stuff coming up. You'll hear all about it from King himself. I want to thank Brian Slagle for setting this up. Metal Blade Master himself, and one of the great metal fans and great humans, Brian Slagle. So thank you so much. And if you have not heard my Brian Slagle interviews, go back and listen to him. The man knows his metal. The man is metal with a / little bit of hockey in there. Oh, one bonus thing, man, which was great. King Diamond loves Porsche 911, so we dive into that, which is just amazing. What am I on here? I believe I'm on the 22nd show in 18 nights. Voice is a little trashed and feeling pretty good. Did some comedy last night before the Marcus King concert, then sat in with them and did a Beatles song. Very, very cool, man. We have kind of hit this this comfort zone, all of us out here after a few weeks on the road. Absolutely exhausted, but loving every minute of it. A lot of hard work, tough challenges, battling some of the GA audiences, but hey, man, at the end of the tour, I will have some golden memories and just great people I'm working with. Marcus King Band, Neil Francis, Ashland Craft, all the crew, the venues. Everything has been stellar. Katie, the tour manager, Jess, her assistant, Our bus driver, who's a fucking champion. You need a good bus driver out there, man, if you're going to get any kind of sleep in those bunks. And also, big thank you to all of you that have come out to the shows. Oh my God, just unreal. I also want to thank some new Patreoners. I cannot thank you enough for supporting the Patreon. It has been a lot of fun doing the bonus episodes and the Zooms with all the Patreoners. Stephen L., thank you. John DeLuca, Scott Mueller, and that's it for the new ones. Patreon.com/Dean Del Rey. Episode is brought to you by Migos Dog. MigosDog.com. If you have a dog, feed your dog clean dog food. A lot of dog food has sawdust in it and whatever they want to put in it. There's no regulations. You don't want your dog to be dying soon or early because you fed it just some kind of nutty shit. You know what I mean? Migos dog ingredients are thoughtfully prepared to ensure your dog is getting the proper balance of vitamins, minerals, amino acids to live a long, full life. Dogs deserve excellent food. MigosDog.com. You can find it at Healthy Spot all over California or at Erewhon grocery stores. It's in California right now, so get it. Or email them. Check it out. They got all kinds of flavors. Gertrude is eating the duck now. She became a salmon fan, and now she demands duck. So there you go. Migos Dog. Also, Standard and Strange. Absolutely my one-stop shop for all my denim, boots, and leather jackets. New York and Berkeley. Or online, standardandstrange.com. Tell them I sent you. And, man, go to their website. They just got the best stuff, and they are great humans. They got John Lofgren boots. They also got a store in Santa Fe that I have not been to yet. New York, Santa Fe, Oakland, standardandstrange.com. All right, let's stop fucking around here. And let's get into one of the legends of metal right now. Let's sit down and talk to him. Enjoy the ride. Episode 666. The candles are lit for Mr. King Diamond. All right, here we are. Now, I could not even plan this if I tried. I've been doing the podcast for 11 years.
Wow.
Yeah. And today is episode number 666 with King Diamond. I couldn't even plan this if I tried. How are you,
That's
my man?
My number, you know.
That is your number.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, powerful number.
Man, congratulations. That's big time, man. Wow.
First time I saw that number was on The Omen, I believe, where they shaved Damien's head.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. My little 5-year-old kid has that on his head.
Really?
Mm-hmm. No, but it would have been fitting.
Oh my God, what an honor to have you on. I cannot tell you how much I love you, your voice, your music, Mercyful Fate, King Diamond Solo. I have been watching you for years. I've got to tell you, the first time I hear Mercyful Fate is around 1982.
Wow.
Yeah, I walk into the record vault in San Francisco. You remember this place?
Oh, yes, absolutely. Very, very nice place. We were there in 84.
Exactly.
A few years later. Yeah.
Yeah. But I walk in, they're playing this EP. It's got a black and white cover. I hear Nuns Have No Fun. I said, what is this? I mean, at the time, I had never heard anything like that, and immediately bought it and had been on the track the entire time, the history of King Diamond. And it was just mind-boggling that this small little store in San Francisco on Polk Street had such an impact on the underground metal scene. How much did that record store really get out the word for you and other record stores in the US?
A lot, actually. Yeah, that meant a lot. I mean, I think I know personally from Lars Ulrich that he was, I think, from what I remember, was at Brian Slagel's, the record owner or the owner of Metal Blade, the record label. He was at his apartment in Los Angeles at the time, and they had received it by mail from Europe because you couldn't. I don't. Yeah, you could obviously get it from some shop, but I think they had gotten it from Europe in mail, and they were listening to it. They were unwrapping it and putting it on and listening to it, and he told me they were speechless. They didn't know what to say about it. It was so different, but it spoke to them in a such a special way, So they actually experienced it together the first time that they heard it, and had that nice. That I have had many times myself with other bands, because I collected from I was quite young, 14, 15. I spent all allowance going into the center of Copenhagen to a record store there where I would get all the new things from England or the US, and sometimes you could tell the music by what it looked like, what the people looked like. 2 guitars, bass, drums, and a vocalist, Judas Priest, like set up, it had to be good. And often it was. And that's how I met Judas Priest first time. Their first album that I heard was Sad Wings of Destiny, and it absolutely blew me away. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. And that vocalist is like, oh my God. It's before I started doing stuff, and then I went back to the store later and said, any more from this band? Because that was the time when you would stand at a desk and you would pull up these two things with a little curly wire and hold them up to your ears, and listen to it that way. And after the third song, your arms were numb. You couldn't do it anymore, but you did anyway. And then eventually, I need to bring it home, and then they told me there's a rock and roll. It's called another one, and ordered it. And I lived all that. I lived seeing bands standing outside the theaters in the snow, rain, whatever the hell, to try and get a little thing that looked like their name on paper, and have some of those still today. I was the biggest fan of music you can imagine, and the whole thing. So I know what it can mean when you get in that situation and you get something that is I can say unbelievably unique. That this is something that's special. It's not like a lot of other things. This is a one of a kind, probably. And I think they told me something like that.
Yeah, it's interesting because we had the new wave of British heavy metal happen, and with
Yes.
Saxon and all of that. And then early on, of course, I would say the scariest heavy stuff would be like Black Sabbath and everything.
Yeah.
But when this comes on, I'm just kind of like, what? I've never heard anything like this. The singer is insanely, incredibly unique. And I was just thinking, like, the closest to it would be Rob Halford on stuff like Victim of Changes and those type of screams and everything. But nobody was alternating between falsetto and the regular voice like you were doing. And it was really it was haunting and scary. What was the influence of that? Was it Rob and other singers like Robert Plant and stuff like that as far as getting into the high notes?
Yeah, Uriah Heep, David Byron. My son's name is Byron from David Byron because he's my all-time favorite singer is David Byron from Uriah Heep. The old days, Uriah Heep is not here anymore. But certainly also Robert Halford, you mentioned Robert Plant, but there was many people that spoke to me. Ozzy Osbourne had such a haunting, unique voice at the time, and Black Sabbath naturally was absolutely one of my favorites. He was creating a very unique mood with that voice. There's only one voice in this universe that sounds like us. For instance, I think Robert Plant has the same style. It's very few, at least some people can maybe try and mimic it, right? But it's not the original. They would not write that stuff themselves, coming from inside where you feel like, okay, this is the original, right? Dio, an amazing singer, right? But different than Ozzy, and could not, in my opinion, give it that haunting feeling. But then he did other albums where he was the one singing when they recorded them, Heaven and Hell and so on. It's amazing albums too, right? But there are some singers out there. That Alice Cooper is another fantastic theatrical singer, who can make you feel like you are at the place he's talking about. Welcome to My Nightmare and stuff like that. The old days, there's like Steven and stuff like. I mean, there's some cool, unbelievable stuff, and there's a lot of those singers, and those are the ones that I'm. Peter Gabriel, one of the biggest influences as well. I saw Genesis in 1975. They had started their tour in the US for the Lamelights on Broadway in 74, but they got to Europe and Denmark in 75, spring 75. And I saw them there with Peter Gabriel, and it blew my mind. And a lot of my friends, we would always go to heavy. It was like either Bocce or it had to be, the heavier stuff we went in and saw. And when they heard I was wanting to go in and see that, they said, no, it's not heavy. I said, oh man, you don't know all the songs, I guess, like, The Knife and Return of the Giant Hogweed. There's lots of old heavy stuff from the early days and very progressive. And it's like, it's the theatrics too that spoke to me already then, and then seeing them blew my mind. I'll never forget it. And the same from Alice Cooper. They say 4 or 5 months later, in the autumn of 75, he was in Copenhagen with the Welcome to My Nightmare show, and blew my mind completely as well. So I started, my first concert was in 71.
Oh wow!
As I was 15, and I was going together with one of my school pals alone. We were walking for, God, man, it took us over an hour to walk to this concert hall called KB Hall. I played there many times myself, and I've seen so many bands there. That was Grand Funk Railroad.
Oh wow!
With Mott the Hoople as support. It was the 3rd of December, 1971. We walked home alone too, the two of us, in the middle of the night. It was safe at that time. Back then, there was no problem. I don't think I would do that today, but I mean, that was how it was back then. And then the 1st of March, I think it was, Deep Purple was playing Copenhagen at also the KB Hall. And Danish National TV recorded it. You can find that recording, black and white. And it's where they are playing the Fireball tour, kind of leading up into new songs were played that no one had heard from Machine Head. Unbelievable. They played Fireball as an encore. And Rhodey came in with an extra kick drum, because there's double kick drum in the beginning. Put it down. He took one of the microphones from one of the cymbals, turned it upside down so it stuck into the kick drum, and then they started playing it. And then he took it away again afterwards, and that was it. And it sounds killer. The sound is fantastic, and the performance is probably, in my opinion, better than their performance on the actual Made in Japan live. If you can get your hands on that recording from back then, it's worth it, man. It's so good. Blackmore smiling through half the set, which is very unusual, but they really seem to have a great time there, and they sounded so good, man.
When you were starting out and your first few bands like Brainstorm and Black Rose and the Brats and stuff, when you guys were playing, were you slowly figuring out the eventual King Diamond whole process? Like by the time you get to the Brats, you're like, okay, I'm going to start doing, painting my face and getting more into theatrics. How does this all happen?
I was painting my face from the first one, Brainstorm, where I only played guitar in. So that was 76.
Wow.
Then I guess 77, and specifically maybe more like 78. There was different lineups of Brainstorm, but I only played guitar there. And then in I think it might have been 78 that we started, and I joined this band Black Rose, which was through an ad that I saw, because Brainstorm had stopped, and I had my guitar and I had a Marshall stack, and I was like, what do I do now? And I found in a grocery store where they had these little notes hung up on a note board, that band's style of Deep Purple, Rainbow, Seeking Singer. And it was 3 guys. They didn't have a keyboardist. So I was like, wow, you're playing Deep Purple without a keyboard, really? But still, I went there to check out. They needed a singer, right? So I pretended to be a singer. I came there and just said, hey, yeah, sure. And they had a microphone that I'd never sung in my life at that time.
Wow.
And they said, "Hey, you know, yeah, I know. We have the lyrics here for you. Want to try space trucking just for fun with us?" She said, "We don't have a keyboard. It doesn't matter. Just we'll figure it out. Just go on. Are you ready for that?" "Yeah, sure, okay, whatever." So I stood with the lyric there, and then I screamed myself to death, and we played it maybe 3 or 4 times, and then they were quite happy. So my screaming was pretty okay. It was not singing. It was absolutely screaming. And when I went home, I had no voice. I completely destroyed it, you know, and I didn't know how to sing at all. But I was the best person they've had there screaming for them, you know. So then we did more and more stuff, you know, and then we got a keyboard player, and then that band lineup broke up, and we got a new bass guitarist, me and the guitarist in the band, because the guitarist was really amazing. Very Blackmore-ish. I mean, you could barely tell if it was Blackmore or not when he was playing. He was amazing. So we continued when the others, when the others stopped there, and then we got a from one band that was called Virgin at that time. You know, I think they did one single. It was bass player and keyboard guy and drummer, and we were then Black Rose with the real lineup that actually did some really cool shows, and the stage presentation became pretty theatrical, I would say. Because I had a friend that worked in a meat factory, and he would, let's say, borrow things for me, and like pig's guts and pig's blood and stuff like that, you know. And I at the time was working as a lab technician. I'm a trained lab technician. I have the diploma I could work, probably not today, but had I kept it up, I would be able to work anywhere in the world, right? So it was a good education, all this stuff. But from there, you know, where I worked, there was a lot of powders, and I read up on some of these powders, and I found out that magnesium powder mixed with a certain oxygen thing in the right level will create a nice little bomb. And we had these metal cylinders, small metal cylinders, developed and had them standing on the floor, and I would fill them. I had tried in my apartment these very small ones, you know, so no one was in danger when I did this stuff, but very little powder here and there, and saw what happened when you set fire to it. And I was like, whoa. And you added that oxygen, little lumps you had to crunch. I can't remember exactly what it was, but mixed with the magnesium powder, you would actually get these bangs, and then it would come little mushroom clouds from it, you know. So I mixed them bigger and bigger and tested and got up to a certain level of them, and then we used them on stage. I would stand with a torch, sticking it into this cylinder, completely idiotic. I mean, it's amazing nothing happened. That was not planned. And there were these nice booms coming, you know, and this sky. And we later on did it with Mercyful Fate, actually. At one point, we did something where we created these kind of bombs. It was like, if you can think, a paper towel with the cardboard center of it, you know. We would fill it with magnesium powder and the other stuff, the mix, and then we would do tape, you know, duct tape around it over and over and over and over, so it was completely tight. And then it was just a few sticking out of it that we had made ourselves, that we would then run down this metal rod that we had on top a mask, and then we had put a coat hanger that was shaped like shoulders, and then we had an actual cloak hanging over it, so it looked like it could have been a monk that was stuck up on this stake, you know. And that was what Malcolm Dome, a journalist from Kerrang, he was very famous many years, and he's not here anymore, but he called it the Mercyful Fate's Exploding Nun.
Oh,
because I would light this thing. Usually when we stopped our set, I would light this fuse, and then we would run. And then we ran off stage, and then came this gigantic boom. You know, I once blew a couple of guys down with a concussion from the stage that sat there, 2 securities. It was a art shock festival. It was called long time ago. Except was headlining it, and it was like not very smart, you know, but it was a lot of fun. And so we got some of these crazy. We had no money to do anything specific, but we came up with some things that actually worked, you know. And you know, we did what we could back in those days to try and make it very visual and stuff. And but it became more and more as we went there and we started Mercyful Fate and all this, you know. And suddenly had some experiences that was not from this world, and things got serious, you know, a different way, where it got a whole different meaning, all this stuff, that was the occult and all this, and really got into a lot of that stuff with real experiences. I mean, a lot of stuff came to me where I had an apartment in Copenhagen that was heavily haunted, and lots of people experienced it up there, not just me. And it was not like you sat drunk or I never done drugs in my life, so it's not like there was anything like that influenced the mind to see or hear things, and certain things sometimes I would try. I almost got more skeptical the more I experienced all this stuff that I could not explain, because then you really try to come up with reasons for why that thing that just happened today, for instance, was not something like that, just to be sure that you were definitely having an experience that was genuine. I almost became more, and I still am today, where I'm fully aware of all the things that I have experienced and the reality of it for me, but also been more, it takes more for me to accept it as having been a thing. So I'm 150% sure when something has happened that it was real, instead of I could be, I'm 90% sure it happened. No. When these things have happened, I am 100% sure they happened. And lots of people experienced it with me, that's where I could tell you stories for days.
This podcast is sponsored by BetterHelp. I'll tell you right now, the last couple years have been an absolute shit show. Tons of ups and downs, especially for myself and a lot of my friends. And I know that people are out there seeking therapy. And there's no better way to do it now than BetterHelp.com. Here's the deal, man. You don't have to go to some therapist, get in traffic, stress even more, and lose your mind. You can log right into your account online anytime on your computer, send a message to the therapist, and bam, you can schedule weekly video or phone sessions. No problem. With therapy, it can take a few tries. So, you have to find your fit. It's more affordable than the traditional online therapy, and financial aid is available, and I'm going to offer you a special 10% off the first month of BetterHelp.com. That's BetterHelp.com/Delray, DELRAY. 10% off. I'm telling you, man, I've had some rough times. I had a rough weekend, actually, Great shows, but then just at home and bam, the fucking world sits on my chest. Feel like I can't breathe. BetterHelp is a great way to invest in yourself. Visit their website and read the testimonies that are posted each day. In fact, so many people have been using BetterHelp that they've recruited additional therapists in all 50 states. And they offer the special offer one more time for my listeners. 10% off the first month. BetterHelp.com/Delray. BetterHelp.com/Delray. When you start to get the Mercyful Fate songs together and stuff, is this when you start to experiment with the falsetto and all the voice changes and everything? Because you said you weren't a singer and you lost your voice immediately. Do you start to take lessons? Do you learn to warm up? How do you create this incredible voice and this whole sound from, singing Space Trucking to all of a sudden, you're doing Nuns Have No Fun and, the Melissa record and stuff? How do you start with this voice?
It was in Black Rose. You can actually find this a compact disc, from Metal Blade. It's called A Night of Rehearsal. It's from 1980, and that was Black Rose. Once at the late part of Black Rose, you can hear a bunch of our own songs. There's one cover, Radar Love Golden Earring, but otherwise it's our own songs. And you can actually hear the development of where I was at that time, where there is some falsettos here and there, not really paying attention to it. It was during that time when I did some of those things, that a fan came up to me at one of the shows we played and said, "You need to work on your falsetto. It sounds fantastic. You can do it. You can do those falsettos, and you need to have more of it." And I'm like, "Oh, okay, falsetto. What the hell is falsetto?" I was just singing my way and inspired by others. I didn't know what any terminology was for what I was doing. And he said, "It's these high notes you're singing. You need to really work on it, man, because it sounds fantastic when you're doing it." And that made me actually start working on it and try to bring more of it into our songs. And at some point there, we split up Black Rose, simply because, I mean, it was, some of us really wanted to do some serious stuff, but it was not throughout the whole band, and for instance, one person was actually in the process of moving and needed money for a new kitchen, and there went the equipment, and suddenly there was no equipment for that one person, and the rest of us like, okay, that's when I said, okay, no, I got to do something different. This is not right. So that was when I started searching for something else, and that was the end of Black Rose at that time. That's where I said, well, what now? We can't really do much. And then I talked to the guy from the record shop that I always used to go to. He actually contacted me. His name was Ken Anthony, and I still best friends, absolutely best friends. And he helped Mercyful Fate a lot in the beginning, trying to get us different things. I think he was very instrumental in us getting the first BBC radio recording radio show, that we did. There's also a guy called John Kibble. He was good friends with our guy Ken Anthony, and they together helped us with some things in England. And that guy told me that he worked with this band Brats, and he knew them very well, and he knew that they were looking for a singer because they had gotten some so-and-so reviews for the vocal parts of their album, and there was the bass player that was singing in the band at the same time as playing bass. And now they were actually looking for a straight lead singer. And at that time, he had seen Black Rose play live at this place, the Salt Layer. And he had suggested me to them. And then he said, okay, I can put you guys together and you can have a talk. And then I met them at his apartment, I think it was, where we all were. And then I was there with Brats, and we talked. And I said, I will play with you. I will give it a shot, if you... They were playing half punk, half heavy on that first album they did, the only album they did for CBS in Denmark. And I didn't want to play punk music. I watched Sex Pistols for real. Sex Pistols with Sid Vicious, the real original thing, back in 75 or 76. And we'll never forget that. But I was not wanting to do that myself. I wanted to play heavy. And they agreed to that, and then that's what Rats turned into a real heavy band. And then came CBS at the time in Denmark and didn't like what we were doing because it was way too heavy and it was not what Rats was about. And what the hell is gone into you guys? This change, where it's come from, and it was only me and Hank that was. We were so into this, and the other three guys were more like, we have a record deal. If we don't do as they say, we don't have a record deal. And me and Hank was like, well, so what? I mean, we want to play what we feel inside. I mean, we're not gonna do this, I mean, we're already playing all these great songs now. So then we split it up. And they never did an album for CBS, the other guys, it never went anywhere. And me and Hank, we were starting up looking for musicians, and we found several different musicians. We tried out certain things, and played a little here and there. And then we ran into Michael Denner, had a band, a three-piece band called Danger Zone. They didn't really have a singer. They were just Michael Denner, guitar, and it was Timmy Hansen, the bass player. And then a guy by the name of Nick, I can't remember his last name, but he was the drummer. They asked if we would help them. They asked Hank, because Michael Denner had played with Hank in Brats. They asked Michael Denner asked Hank if he would help him with the demo, and if he would bring that vocalist that Hank had contact to, And so we went and did that demo, and we didn't play any of those songs ever afterwards, but we agreed that there was a certain chemistry, and we could turn this into the new version of Mercyful Fate, maybe, and play all these heavy songs. And it was heavier than what Michael Denner had, And we all agreed, so we tried. And then we went through, I don't know, 3 or 4 different drummers before we found some of them were really good, but before we found Kim Ross, and that was the one that completed the lineup the way we liked it, and then from that came the trip to London and BBC Radio 1 Friday night rock show, and a 20-minute recording, where we did Satan's Fall, and God, I can't remember. I said Evil must have been there too, and maybe because of the Pharaohs. I'm not 100%. But then they had so many people request it to be rebroadcast that they did that, and that brought interest from a small record label in Holland called Raven Records, and they got us down there to do this mini LP. And that's when the middle 2 days, and I had planned backing vocals, the whole shit. I was looking so much forward to it. And we came down there and said, we don't have time for this stuff. What are you talking about? Backing vocals? Yeah, you can get a lead double if you want, like whatever, and Hank's like, they had harmonies for guitars and stuff like that. But it's, he got told when he was giving it starting the third take for the intro to like Course Without Soul. It's kind of like, gotta keep your tongue straight. And he's like, nah, one more time. And he's like, we can't do this stuff. I thought you knew all your parts. I was like, well, it's not just that easy. Well, the next one you do is going to be the one that goes on the album. And we can't do anymore. So that was like, some nice pressure there for him. And then the one he did next is the one that's on the album, So 4 songs recorded and mixed in 2 days, for that thing there. And
Yeah.
And then Melissa was 6 days, if I'm correct. I think 6 days, and Don't Break the Oath was 8 days. So, but the 6 days, you have to think, it might sound little, but we were so rehearsed. We had already played all these songs live for I don't know how long. So it was not like we came in there and just had to start from scratch with a lot of stuff. We came in, we knew what our parts were, and I had developed a lot of ideas for where I wanted harmonies on the vocals, but that part was done in the studio, right? I had to develop all these harmonies in the studio, kind of on the spot, and that took some time, of course, but now we had some extra time to do this because the basic tracks were pretty fast put on, and then it was more like solos and harmonies, and then all the vocals, so and then with Don't Break the Oath we had 2 more days to do vocals and everything, so we felt like, oh my god, this is awesome. That was how those albums became more intricate. All our ideas that we have had for a long time, we could suddenly realize and put on tape.
During the Melissa record, you guys were asked to do a cover, right? Immigrant Song. Did you guys record that, or was it just a thought?
They started recording it and didn't think it was swinging properly, with the drums. Not that the drummer could play, but we didn't have the groove that we felt was needed for that song. It just didn't sound right. I mean, we probably had a sound that was so far from Led Zeppelin's that we would never have had that groove that they had with the way their drums would sound. Their bass guitar was always very full, and not so growly. The guitars they had was never that hardcore distorted as we had, so different time, you can say, and different equipment definitely had played a role there. But yeah, we were trying that. I never got to try to sing it. Never got the chance. I never been very much for doing covers. I think the originals that did the songs, that's the real deal. That's the way it should sound. I'm not coming in here trying to better it because I know I can't. I feel like what they did is the best they can be. That's the real deal. That's how it was. I mean, but I did on a tribute to Judas Priest, I did The Ripper. But that's the only thing I think that I have done that is an actual. Yeah, and then Radar Love with Black Rose, but that was like so long ago. We played covers there when we were doing shows with Black Rose. We played our own songs. We had quite a lot of them. And then we would play obscure ones. We play Living Wreck with Deep Purple, for instance, from the In Rock album. Or we would play Fools with this long knob solo in the middle. And the songs you would never hear other bands play. We would play those songs. And so that was different, But here now, it turned out fine. But Halford does The Ripper best of anybody. And will always be the best to do that because that's the real feel of the song.
Yeah.
I did it because I was asked to do it, and if we would please do it, and so on, and then we were already in the studio at the time, so it was like I had sung it with Pantera, years before in 1992 when I just moved to Texas. I had barely gotten here when I actually got a call from them and we started talking. I mean, Dimebag and Vinny and Rex was in Dallas, but Phil was in New Orleans, right? So, but they called me and they asked me if I want to come and hang out for New Year's Eve in 1992, and we could play maybe a couple of songs because they were having this New Year's Eve party at a club. Yeah, where they were there, and I said, yeah. I mean, I knew all of them, and it would be an honor, great. And so we met up for a rehearsal at their house, and we were going to play Omens, King Diamond from Abigail. That was Dimebag's choice, and then we were going to do the Ripper because I knew of it, and of course I knew it very well, but not as a singer. I had sung it before at that time. And then the Green Manalishi, of course, it's a Fleetwood Mac song, right? But it's the Judas Priest version, you can say, that we would play. Those 3 songs we were going to do. And so we played Omens once, I think, because I wanted to hear that first. And then they said, okay, let's go have a beer, man. And I said, yeah, can we just rehearse maybe a couple of times each song? That would be nice. I don't know these songs, like how to sing them. I know the songs, but I haven't tried to sing them yet. So, it'll be fine, man. Just let's go have a couple of beers. So that's what we did. I drove all the way to Arlington, over an hour from where I was to rehearse one time Omens. And then, but then we met for the show there, and I went home and I rehearsed like a maniac because I was not going to come there and not know the stuff, and then, yeah, they played it perfect, I mean, it's just them. That's how it was, Dimebag, there was a break in the middle that had harmony guitars out the ass. I mean, it's a completely epic arrangement. And he just nailed it. He just found which ones he was going to pick here and there, that part of it, and it sounded great. I mean, it's just... but I had the pleasure also to see him in action when he put a solo on the title track for our album, Voodoo, with King Diamond, And to see him actually in action, it was something I'll never forget. It was amazing.
In the early days, King, when you're working on the lyrics, I mean, your lyrics are just unbelievable and just so intricate and all the layers of the harmonies and everything. But when you're writing the lyrics, do you start to find your voice like right away? Or is it taking a while? Do the lyrics come quick? Do you constantly write lyrics? Do you just write titles? How does that work? Because the lyrics on Melissa and Don't Break the Oath are so mind-boggling to me and incredible. And the way they fit in with the melody, you got to fit all that in the melody. How does all this come about? Does it come quick and easy?
It's up and down, kind of, sometimes it does come easy, very easy. Abigail, the whole story came very easy. But some of it is taken from something that my mom had told me, and then I put a occult spin on it. But there was just something about the main thing of inheritance, and the thing about not being a bastard, and stuff like that. That was looked down upon, even when she was a kid, left on somebody's doorstep. There was a lot of things that she told me, and how her mom would still not recognize her properly when she was fully grown up and all this stuff. Went to help her mom when she was sick, and overheard a conversation between her and a neighbor that was borrowing something. Who is that nice lady that's been staying with you this past month? Because my mom took a whole month off from her work to go and take care of her mom, And her mom said, she overheard it, that she said, oh, it's just an old friend. She was still not her daughter. It's fucking bitch, sorry.
Wow.
Yeah, it was brutal to hear. And when she told me the story, I was like, you got to just cut those ties, man. She is absolutely not worth even the thought, But that whole thing has a lot to do with the Abigail story. So, I mean, my mom was the product, you can say, of a professor's son and the maid in the house, which was her mom.
Oh, wow.
And maid was sent away to have the disgraceful kid, and all this stuff. And that was back then, long time ago. But that had a lot to do with parts of the story. It fueled the irritation that's in it, the feeling of injustice and things like that that's in there. All the music and stuff like that, we write the music, lyrics, the new song with Mercyful Fate, now the Jackal of Salzburg, we have just cut the drums. I think we are done with the drums. Actually, I talked to Hank today, and so we are getting closer and closer to it. I now had the opportunity to finally finish the lyrics of it, because it was not done when we went out touring. There is a passage in it that doesn't. It only comes that one time. It never repeats in it, and I just made it up every night. So it was kind of very weird to do that. But during our tour, we and I got the lyric. I heard a story, or suddenly came upon a story that I didn't know of before. This witch hunt in Austria in 1675 lasted 15 years up till 1690, and it was just part of the period where they had witch hunts. I think the last witch in Austria was either 1762 or 1767 or something like that. In the 1760s, that they had the last witch they burned, and that burned in the proximity of this castle where the story took place. It's about 2 hours in a bus from Salzburg, and it was quite weird because the story is quite brutal. Those 15 years, that's because it was the center of justice in the Salzburg region for many, many years. I mean, long time, hundreds of years, I would imagine that it would have been, where the center of justice was there at this castle that was called Moosham Castle. The story is probably the most infamous of witch trials that you will ever come upon. And I had never heard of it. What happened in that period, 15 years, was that there was this guy, 20 years old, his mom had been burned at the stake. And his dad was an assistant to an executioner, as far as I could read. The mom had been expelled or had been going through heavy, heavy torture. And during that torture, she had spelled her son's name as being one of the reasons for this and that. I mean, she was going to die no matter what. So at some point, they just got that out of her, and he then got news of it and fled into the woods. There's lots of heavy woods there. We went to the castle during the tour we just did in Europe. We actually went to the castle. We had arrived at Salzburg, and I was reading up on it again. And then suddenly I saw something I never saw before, because I searched on some other things. And suddenly I'm like, Moosham Castle, what the hell? I never heard of this. What's going on here? But the center of the Salzburg witch trials. Okay, hold on a second here. And then I find out that we had driven past it, you can say, not straight past it, so we could have seen it, but we drove past it 2 hours before, we came to Salzburg. And I had to call the next day the tour manager and everybody else, like, we are going back 2 hours where we came from yesterday. We are not just continue. I have to drive super early. I have to see this place. I cannot miss this. There would be. I would hate myself till I die. So we got it, and then the bus drivers were in on too. So we drove there, and we came up to it, and it was like, oh my God, I can't believe we are here outside this place where they killed so many innocent people, and they went. The burnings were not happening when they burned people alive. It was in the village right next door that we drove to and drove through as well on our way afterwards. But we went in there, we got the tour of the castle. I shot some video outside of it that we will use once the song is done and we're going to present it. So I stand outside the castle and talk a little bit about the story and what we just saw inside. And then me and Joey, the bass player, stood right in front of the entrance gate to the castle, and where we pretended that we are done with the song, and here's the first time you hear it, maybe, so we just could stand there actually in front of the castle. The castle was whatever street was called number 13. I thought, of course it's number 13. I mean, it's like, so you go in there, this castle, it's actually it's very ominous, but it's also very beautiful, and it's and creepy at the same time. Old. This is from the 16th that it's from before there when it was built, but inside there was a fountain. We have pictures of, and we took film inside and all this stuff like that. And we have photos of that. There's a fountain that was from, I think it was 1677. So that's a few years after it started, probably right when they started hunting this guy. And heavy woods outside the castle and beautiful landscapes, mountains. It's just amazing. And then you hear some of these stories of what happened in there. And you come down there and you actually get to see the torture chamber where they have people on the wheel, where they simply would pull their spines apart,
Wow.
just more and more and more and say this and that. There was the spike that stands up almost 2 meters tall that would put people out. It goes up their ass and then they just put them down till it comes out their mouth. I mean, you see that it's just all the real stuff that people died on there. It's there. The real stuff is there. And you just, oh my God, I can't believe this is, I'm looking at this. These things happen here. The little extra rooms where they would shove them into, where there's no light in them. The chains with all kinds of restrictions on there. The things where you with wood, you put them. They sit there with their hands and legs through, and some of it would have sat outside. Right next to it, there was like the justice chamber, you can call it, where there is this big desk, and there's a giant cross standing on the desk. Right in the middle. So you would stand there and talk around the cross kind of to the Witchfinder General. And there would have been guards. There must have been guards there too. But that's where justice was dealt. I mean, there was a sword lying there, and you could actually see both sides of it on photos of it. But the sword was there. And on one side, there was engraved a gallows, and the other had a wheel on it. So it was not a matter of, are you innocent or not? No, you were always guilty when you got to that room.
Damn.
It was just a matter of, how are you going to die?
Oh, shit.
Either we put you up and hang you, or we put you on the wheel over right here, and then we stretch you apart. That's the two ways you have. And they would spin, the guy would spin this sword, and then ding, whatever side was up. Okay, gallows. It's just the coldness of the whole thing, the complete, what's it called, like, the
just the evil.
Life didn't matter, not at all. I mean, the guard, the guy told us that this sword, I have to have it in the lyric. I have to mention it. I'll call it the Sword of Justice. It has to go into that new part that I'm going to write here in the next couple of days, so that the song is completely finished when we start the tour here, and I can sing the full proper version. That has to go in there. Maybe a couple of other things that I had not done yet, but I want to change what I had done, and I thought was maybe going to be the final version because of these last things we saw there, But and we have film of all this stuff. We have photos of it, all the real stuff there from down there, and it creeps me out. The other day I said, I have some more stuff I need to read about it. There was some special stories. Believe it or not, at different times, I don't know if it was before or after, but some of the people that lived there were suddenly accused of being werewolves. And some of those were burned at the stake. One woman was burned. That was by a different, I don't think that was that period, but it was a different period, but the same place, was accused of having flown on a broomstick to the Sabbath, and was burned at the stake. There was, so as far as I read there, as my understanding was, there was the guide as well, said that there was one specific bishop that had killed over 2,000 women there in his time. He got very, very busy and very into his cleansing process there, But one of the things that people that was around that castle and living there would have been things going on around it too. If people did not do the sign of the cross, ding, 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 and then said whatever it is they have to say, if someone spotted them not doing that, they would tell the Witchfinder General right away that, hey, I saw Mrs. Gilbert did not do that, and her husband did neither, They would be taken immediately down to the chamber, and they would chop the 2 fingers off that they should have used. No questions asked, practically.
Wow.
So, just like, and that's what the Jagger Sass book has a lot to do with, because this, I haven't even told you the horror of that, but they were killing 100, I think it was 37 people in those hunts for the jackal. They were hunting the jackal in these forests. They believed there was a kind of a human in jackal shape that was the devil's own making, that was living right there, and that had fled, and it was the one that his mom had, told them that she had also seen. But suddenly it became that, now again, it's been a little while since I read this stuff, but I believe there was 108 of the 137 were children that they killed, between 10 and 14, killed, burned at the stake, hands chopped off, hung, whatever. I mean, some of them would have lost things before they burned them alive. Just absolutely crazy, insane stuff. And all in the name of the Lord at that time. And it's just unbelievable. And the feeling when you are there is like it in your gut. You just feel it. I feel it now, just thinking about it. And yesterday, I sat and went through all the pictures we had. I happened to come upon them. I was looking for something else. And it's like, I couldn't stop looking at the forth and back. And it's like, oh my God, I can't believe this. I simply can't believe it. But that place is so powerful, like that Musam castle there. And inside, it's very nicely set up. It has furniture and things from different time periods, but there is that real part when you get down to that. It's like, this is the real stuff. This is where these things were done. And I had my 5-year-old son with me, he's running around in there, and I was wondering, my God, I wonder if he sees something, he was laughing a lot outside of the castle, which I found funny, or odd, but there was nothing around. We were just outside, and right when I had to talk, it's like, can you stop laughing? It's just not a place for laughs, Yeah, very, very heavy place, and that's where you see the way I'm dressed also has I kind of look like a not too nice bishop, that has sometimes fun with turning things upside down, on the new. The new outfit, and also the you look at the ad for the tour, it's like I see that as the evil bishop kind of, and it's a very, very unique place. But I would go back and see it again. I mean, because it's so powerful emotionally, so powerful.
I love the early look of King Diamond and Mercyful Fate, where you're actually, to me, growing up in San Francisco, you just look like an outlaw biker. Like, I just love the look. It was like kind of 70s biker, and but scary at the same time. Like, this guy is fucking crazy.
I still have the old leather jacket with all the fringes,
Oh,
I still have it. I can barely get my arms in it, but I still have it downstairs. It's a lot of memorabilia.
What were some of your inspiration for the outfits? Was it like new wave British heavy metal? Were you into biker looks? Were you into that kind of just leather, denim and leather look, or what was the influence?
I don't know. I don't think I thought so much about that I was trying to look in a certain way. I mean, it's like I had this yellow kimono that I drew all this. I did my own alphabet, that looked real occult, so I knew what the letters stood for, these weird signs. And if I told you the signs of what these things say, you thought, oh, I see. Okay, I see that's an L, and that's the way that the E is. Oh, okay. Now you told me I can understand some of these things. Yeah, I would paint a black cross, and I would fill out some different spots on it, and I had things on the sleeves and stuff like that. And they ended up looking a little bit like some kind of a magician, There's an action figure coming out now here very soon from Super 7 that actually has that specific first outfit from the first European tour. However small it was, but there was our first little tour that I would wear that yellow cape / long jacket, or whatever you want to call it. But very different to why yellow? Why? But hey, that was it. My mom would make certain capes for me back in the old days. She was even part of creating one cape that I used later on. That was a fireproof cape, kind of. Where I don't know if you ever saw that with MTV. I would I created out of this pyro cotton. I created the MTV logo that I put on the back. I used to just have a big cross on the back. There was a little hole in the cape where a fuse would go through, and I would stand on stage and reach one hand behind my back with a lighter, and then I would feel where it was, and then I would click, 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 wait, and then there was, oh, I feel it's hot now back there, and then, oh, here it comes, and then the flame came out, and I had to have a tall, what do you call it, like, what do you call that now? It's a collar, a kind of a collar to protect that my whole head wouldn't burn off, when this flame would shoot up from the back, but it did the job, and it was really a thrill to feel this heat coming around, from that. So I did the MTV logo in that kind of thing too, and I was talking and blah blah. I think I was reading Little Red Riding Hood my own way, and then I stood up, and then I turned around, had the MTV logo on the back of the cape, and then I lit it, and the whole thing turned into flames. Just some of these funny things from back then. Burnt some mustache and some sideburns here and there from various things that had to burn. The Book of Jonah would suddenly catch fire and stuff like that. But
October 26, 1984, I saw you at the Kabuki. Death Angel opened. It was Don't Break the Oath tour. You opened with The Oath. It was probably one of the scariest concerts. Hands down, was the scariest concert I ever saw in my life. And I remember you saying you'd walk home from concerts. I walked from the Kabuki to the bus stop after that, and I was looking over my shoulder the entire time, like, holy shit. It was pretty wild to see. I was a senior in high school. I was way into metal. I loved Maiden. I loved Accept. I loved Saxon. I loved Judas Priest, AC/DC. But to see Mercyful Fate on the Don't Break the Oath tour at the Kabuki that night was something that I have never forgotten in my life. And it was definitely scary, real, and one of the greatest metal shows of all time. Do you remember the Kabuki and Death Angel? Yeah. Tell me a little bit about that.
Absolutely. That was the day Metallica was also there, right? And they came on stage with us during the encore. That was when we got to know each other. I mean, there's a funny way that there would be. We were told, I think it's Gene Corey, that journalist, right? Gene Corey. I think it was him that introduced us and said that there is this band outside. They're called Metallica. They would like to come in and say hi to you guys and stuff like that. And the drummer is from Denmark. His name is Lars Ulrich, and it was so weird because we had not heard of anything. We had never been in the US before. This was our first tour. Our first thing we ever did was in Portland. We flew into Portland, and we had an in-store the first day we were in Portland with Slayer.
Wow.
So we ran into Slayer that very beginning, and I simply can't remember if we both played that same show or there was a reason they were not playing that show in Portland. God, if I could only remember what that name was. It was Starry Nights, I think, in Portland. That was a theater. But that was the first American band that we ran into there. But on that same tour was when we met Metallica, And then Gene Corey said the Lars Ulrich's dad is a professional tennis player in Denmark. His name is Torben. Torben, oh, we all knew him. Are you kidding, man? So we were very familiar there. So hey, let's talk. And they came in and we just hit it off perfect right in the beginning. And they went on stage with us, and Kirk practically knocked me over on stage. Bumped into me over there. We were just getting enthusiastic, you can say. And there was a monitor, and I was like losing my balance kind of, and it ended up with me almost landing on the floor, But it was just cool. It was so cool, and it was just an instant. We just hit it off perfect, and have been best friends ever since,
Yeah. I was at that show, and Death Angel, they had not got Mark singing yet. And Andy, I think, was about 13, the drummer. And he told me a great story where he just saw the amps come out of the cases, and it's just like, oh my God, there's Mercyful Fate's Marshall amps, Hank and Michael's amps. And I think it was really a magical night in San Francisco, because it was the first night that I looked around and thought, these are all people from the underground, man. This is no radio. This is all word of mouth. This is all street and demo trading and everything. Everyone in here is here because they know what this is, and it's a small amount of people, but it's a powerful and mighty amount of people. And later, of course, Metallica and Death Angel, and of course King Diamond, and everything gets bigger and bigger and bigger. But it's wild to think about that nucleus that night of who was at that show. Exodus guys, Testament guy, it's incredible.
And then when we came back with Motorhead, we had an install at the Record Vault. And I have a picture of me and Lemmy standing with Pam.
Wow.
And Pam right in between us, and that was so Motorhead were ever since that point, someone that we've been grateful to our whole career, because they opened the door in the US for us by inviting us and Exciter onto their tour. And we had just done our own, Exciter and us, we had done our own tour. And then that tour was doing so well that Motorhead was coming over to do a tour, and they said, "Hey, want to join us?" And this, and then we did that tour as well. So we almost did two Don't Break the Oath tours, you can say, in '84.
When after you meet Metallica and the guys and everything, and of course the infamous story of them recording Ride the Lightning in Denmark and using your studio to rehearse. When you start to hear Metallica, are you intrigued by the sound? And obviously there's influence of Mercyful Fate and all of the British new wave of British heavy metal. But are you like, wow, this Ride the Lightning stuff's pretty cool, because that is really kind of a groundbreaking record for them, of course, later masters. But are you starting to get into their music?
Absolutely. Are you kidding? I was envious of they borrowed some of our amps. They had their own amps too, I think, but they borrowed some from us too, from our rehearsal room. They would rehearse, and we would come in to do our rehearsal, and they would be packing up and go up and record more stuff, and we would rehearse, and they would. So we would kind of alternate with at the rehearsal room, and I would come up sometimes. They would invite me up, and one day Lars said, "Come up and check some live." There's a thing called Fade to Black, that I'd like you to hear. And sat there and I listened to this instrumental. I was just like, and the guitar sounds so big. So I'm like, how? Oh, we keep recording guitar upon guitar upon guitar, and then it starts getting like that. Us, we just recorded one on each side. I had thought about, why would you, it was early days. We're sitting here with tapes and all this stuff. And how many tracks do you have? Like, we only have 12 or whatever. It was not, you had to be into the big studios. We had never recorded in a studio like Sweet Science Studio with Mercyful Fate. Later on, King Diamond tried it once, but back then they obviously had gotten a budget that they could actually go to Sweet Science Studio and have a lot of tracks. So, and they had ideas of doing this and doing that, so they just layered the guitars up, and they got big and got so fat you almost didn't need a bass guitar, right? But it's in there, and it needs to be there naturally, and it sounds great too. But it's just saying they were so fat. I was so envious. I can tell you, I was like, oh my God, this is really unique for me to hear, and then the musicianship and everything else, and being friends, and they came and hung out in my apartment too and stuff like that, and we just, it was nice to be able to help, something that was, you could see that it was really special, I mean, back then it was very special. They were just like us. When they started off, they the way they went through all the hard ways, the street, like you said before, absolutely. I don't think they got anything served free either. They had to earn it themselves.
Yeah, nothing was handed to them. Nothing handed to you guys. No, not at all. Hard work,
and also a big want of doing it. It was in the heart. It came from inside. I never ever in my career have tried to sound in a certain way because something else sounded like this or that. Never. I can't do it. If someone says, well, then you can't record any more albums, then that, so be it, If I can't have my heart 1,000,000% behind it, then I'm not going to do it. I will not do it. I have to believe 1,000% in myself to be able to be my best, that the way that I want to be.
Yeah.
And if that's not good enough for someone else, then go find another band that is like you want.
There seemed to be a lot of momentum from, of course, Melissa to "Don't Break the Oath," and then the band was gone. What happened? What happened there? Was it between you and Hank disagreements over lyrics and style of the band? Because
No, not the style of the band or anything like that. Was never the case. And still today is certainly not the case. Hank is more intrigued by all this stuff than he has ever been before. I can feel that, It was simply, I think Hank at the time was getting intrigued by different kinds of music, and wanted to incorporate some of that into our style. And I could not come to terms with that whatsoever. I had no, I can't, I don't feel it inside. I don't feel Hank was some of the stuff that was he was intrigued by at that time was Mother's Finest. Not that they didn't want heavy album, right? But before that, the funky part of it, when they were playing funk music, and so he had gotten into some areas, maybe going to some bars or clubs or whatever, where this was like the kind of style that was being played, and got, wow, this is kind of cool. This is different in a cool way. And Hank suggested to do two different styles of music on the third Mercyful Fate album. He could write one side, and me and Michael Denner could write the other side. And I said, no, I can't do it. I cannot sing to that stuff. I will not sing to that stuff. There's no way in hell that's going to happen. I feel like I would be pissing on our fans and would be pissing on myself just as much. And that could never happen to me, And I would say that it was a surprise when it was suggested the first time. And Michael Denner also was like, we were a little shocked, but realized that it was serious, And then it's like, okay, now we have to treat it seriously because this is serious. What are we going to do about it? What's the solution for this? And it ended up being that we got to stay true to ourselves. And then if that's what Hank wants to try, then he can go and try that, we can't continue not doing this here because I can't accept it that way. So it's like on the way to the last show, actually, I posted letters to the other guys that I was leaving the band.
Wow.
Because I could not accept that thing there. And there was no band after it, of course not. It was just no, okay, wow. So I think it was 2 weeks later that I talked to Michael Denner and Timmy Hansen what they were doing right now, because I decided to continue playing heavy music. I just didn't know what to do. I had talked to the record label, to Case Vessels, the owner, and told him that there is no Mercyful Fate anymore. So I guess the contract is done, and we have no nothing we owe each other anymore. And then he said, no, not so fast, my friend. I said, well, there's nothing holding us to anything anymore. The band is disbanded. There is nothing, no band, You are signed. My first lesson in the contracts, was that you are signed individually and collectively to this contract. So you're not going anywhere. You still owe me some albums.
Wow.
And I'm like, what do you mean? Well, right here it says ding, 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 ding. We can do a new contract if you want, but otherwise you owe me on the old one. So I'm like, okay, wow, I had no idea. And then I talked to Timmy and Michael Denner that if they were interested in continuing playing heavy, and if they want to join my project, and it was Case Vessel that said you can call it King Diamond because a lot of people know of you. And that way it doesn't have to be so strange from Mercyful Fate. I said, well, I want to play the same side. If you listen to The Candle, that's a Mercyful Fate song. I think the Jonah was a Mercyful Fate song as well. But I think there was 3 at the time that I had written for the next Mercyful Fate at the time we started exchanging music. And that's where I heard Hank's first time, where I was like, okay, he's not serious. But so those were written at that time, the musical part of it, and they then became King Diamond songs, so that's why it's very close to, you can say The Candle is quite close to The Oath. I mean, it has a lot of these elements where it stops somewhere in the middle. There's this big arrangement going and all this stuff, choirs and things like that. It has a lot of the double kick and going into heavy parts. And, there's a lot of the same mood in that song as there is in the actual The Oath. So, and they were both interested in continuing. So we started looking for a drummer, because it was mainly Michael Denner did not want to play with Kim Ross. He'd had a run-in with him. I also had a run-in with Kim Ross at one point, but it was mainly Michael Denner, that said that no, it can't be. That we had to find us someone else. But he knew somebody that he would recommend, and that guy was Nick D, who was playing with another Danish band that was called Geisha at the time, And so he said, I didn't know of him, so it was like, okay, let's try and see what can happen there. And then suddenly there was a guitarist from Gothenburg, where my Mickey D was from. It was called Floyd Constantine. That tried out for the band, and seemed cool and very good guitarist and stuff like that. And he didn't work, and that's where Andy Rock came into the picture. The guy did not know his solos when we were about to go into the studio.
Wow.
He was a little bit more interested in partying, I seem to remember, than actually learning his guitar solos. And I heard problems coming, and I warned him, before. I said, if you don't know your stuff when we go in the studio, you're so back to Sweden, you can't stay here. This is serious. This is not a joke, And there was that time where Mickey D knew Andy had played in a Swedish band what was the name now? I can't remember that name of that band Andy played in, they were known some areas, but not like on a big scale. But he said that this guy can do it. I'm like, okay, maybe we should fly him down. So we flew him down to Copenhagen, and he came in and did like an audition, you can say, we used the song Dressed White, because there was 5 guitar solos in that song, and some going forth and back, and we told him play solo on all the 5 places, come up with something. You can go in there for an hour and have fun, and then come back and see what you come up with. And he came up with stuff that is there today on the album, and Michael Denner would then take 2 of the solos, and 3 of those that Andy had done on the 5 are still there. That's his test, that is on there. And there was no doubt ever since. But he of course, he didn't write anything. He didn't really manage to record any of the rhythm guitars. It was too late. Mike Denner had already done the rhythm guitars. Mike Denner is not the heaviest rhythm guitarist, I would say. An amazing lead guitarist, but with the rhythm, it was a little not as chunky, and he would normally not dampen the strings as much as Andy, for instance, does. So after Andy joined the band, it ended up that he started doing all the rhythm guitars, both sides. When we did Abigail, for instance, and so forth. So Andy is a very tight rhythm guitarist, so he was used for both left and right side, after that. But it's that was the beginning of King Island. There's a lot of stuff, a lot of hardship to go through to get to these points,
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But it certainly worked, and then came all the more theatrical parts. It was the concept ideas was a big interest of mine, that I could finally fulfill with Abigail. On Fatal Portrait, there was like 5 songs connected into you can say a tiny attempt at doing a mini concept.
I was at the time booking the Stone in the Omni with my buddy Jimmy Arsenault, and I remember you came into the Stone, and you had the grandma and the rocking chair that would go across the stage, and all of the stuff. Look at your grandma, and I was just like, this is fucking amazing. And you're just doing a full blown scale concert in these clubs with all this great concept, and you're telling the story. And then fast forward about, I don't know, 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago, I start seeing it at the Wiltern. You look where it came from early on, the Stone, the Omni, and nightclubs, to a full-blown theater of the Wiltern show a few years back. And it's just mind-boggling what it became with the 2-story stage and all of the it's just wild. You have been pounding it on 12, 13 albums. You got another King Diamond album coming out, but you have been constantly working, other than the time when you had the heart attack, of just nonstop, man. And it's just amazing work ethic, and always sticking to your guns of straight up metal, and always having high quality shows. You are the high watermark for a lot of these bands that can't just go out and punch in,
Well, it's fans deserve, more than just you step in and play. I think I always got so much more out of seeing bands that was like that. Those are the bands I remember. I remember the feelings, the moods going through the concert because they gave something extra. And when I listen to the music at home, I get those pictures back every time. Still today, it doesn't matter how many years. It's stuck in my brain. It'll never. I don't want it to ever go away, because that's just worth so much. And the same with Mercyful Fate. Now, people have asked many, many times. So, are you ever going to do Mercyful Fate again? And it's like, I will never say never. I've always said that. I'll never say never. But the stars really have to align properly for us to do it. I'm not going to go out and try to cash in on just doing a backdrop tour and then say, okay, thanks, that was it, and then disappoint everybody. And it's like, that's not me. That is not what it's about at all. And then these ideas came it's very much my visions for the Mercyful Fate show, the way you see it today. I bounce, of course, everything off Hank, and other people that are close to all this stuff, but I have the original drawings hand drawn by me, of the stage that you see today with Mercyful Fate, and it's not complete yet. It will be complete when we come next time. I have gotten a guarantee from this Polish company that's building our stuff. They built the altar with the Baphomet. They didn't do the altar part, but they did the Baphomet that's on the front, the cross that's hanging up there. There's a new cross that was introduced in Las Vegas, but it was not to the full effect because we couldn't hang it up. It was too low to the ceiling, so it was stuck on the back light bridge, So it looked much smaller in the back. It's a different concept of. There's actually two crosses back to back, you can say. So they create a 3D feel the way you see it hanging up there, and it worked exactly as intended. So that's the new cross. The other one is still in Europe. The whole production has been built in the US. The other one is over in Europe. So it's like. We are able to now play. We could only play the Las Vegas show that way because it was 1 week after we headlined Bloodstock in England, So, but it pays off pretty quick because suddenly you can make many more shows than you could before. Before you had to say no for the next 2 months before that container could make it overseas. It was like a pain in the ass. But now you can do more when you plan it out this way. But we've got 5B as our management, and they are opening doors and all kinds of plans we are making together. It's so there are things we were not able to do before, and now we can do it, and now we can present Mercyful Fate as it should have been presented long ago.
Wow.
And it is so satisfactory. And when you see it now, you said it was kind of scary. It's weird now. It's really the way things have come together. The clothes I wear, the jackets are actually this girl from LA that has been working with us doing these things. She went into a place where it was a museum where she looked at these patterns. They allowed her to open with gloves on though these mantras and measure these old bishops' coats from the 17th century. So that's what I'm wearing. Copies of that, you can say, and just painted a little different with the crosses and things on them, But and then comes the crown, and the crown with the makeup. The makeup is actually an older King Diamond. No, not King Diamond. It was used for King Diamond recently when we did the King Diamond tours. But I brought that back from Mercyful Fate many years ago, and now that makeup with the black tears running down the cheeks, with that crown it looks so sick. It's like I'm not from here. I must be from the other side, dead or something. I come back, It is not normal. And when you see the beginning of it, when I walk in with a ram's head on my head, it looks like an old horror movie where this is the head of the cult coming in to point out who's going to be the next sacrifice, It's ominous. It has just all the feel that you have to have for a Mercyful Fate show, and then we play all these old songs. I mean, they just have a whole new life. The surroundings. We chose, or I chose. I suggested white marble for the set. It's like, what? Yeah, I want it to be like a sacrificial temple kind of. And people, in white. Shouldn't it be black or gray? No. That's not what no, I don't see that. I see it, and it is so bright. You have no idea when you see it. In real life, you stand there, the way smoke comes out of the floor on the second floor, it has holes where smoke is coming up through, and there's lights coming up there. The way they wrap around the altar up there that is 2 meters tall, and a giant old kind of Gordon Mendes Baphomet on the front. The cross is 3 meters tall. It's big up there. It's the things that the backdrops is done so they have been enhanced. It's not like you see the Don't Break the Old cover. At one point you see part of the Don't Break the Old cover because it's been enhanced so much that it's 8 meters tall and 12 meters wide. And then there's side drops with logos on, so it's very powerful and big. The Melissa cover is in the same way, but then suddenly we have a just black thing that is very effective as well here. And then we have an old Bosch painting for several of the last songs for quite a period of time. It's a student of Hieronymus Bosch who painted these crazy old paintings, the Renaissance, of hell and stuff like that. The Christ's ascent from hell or descent into hell or whatever it is. Like it's just these crazy, but they're very famous. A lot of people have seen them out, really know what it is. And that's a backdrop that is full of absolute horror. If you can catch parts of it, you should really make an effort out of it because it's absolutely morbid, absolutely full of horror. And that is behind it. But now there will be the Gothic arches are finally going to be added to it on each side on the second floor. And it's going to make it look like a church almost, but a church of the other side, and it'll have that marble structure on it, these giant Gothic arches, Wait till you see that. I mean, I haven't seen it done yet, but it's part of the big vision that because of COVID and all these things, it's been so difficult to tour. It is so difficult. So you have to change everything around, I mean, you can't find buses. You can't find drivers. You can't find trucks. It is so difficult. You find some company that builds stages and they don't have time because there's a million people wanting to buy some stuff to build. And then if you can find some that can, they might not be able to get the actual raw materials, the materials they need to do it. It's crazy. And that's where we are now. They just called us a week ago that we can build from now on. Do you still want those arches? Yes. Can they be done by this time? Yes, I think we can do that. What do you want them to look like? We can paint them black, matte black. We can do white if you want, off-white. No, I want it to be marble, just like the rest of our set. Let's send you some photos. How can you do it? Can you do this or that? Kind of like maybe a wrap on a car, whatever we need it to be, so you can see all the nuances and indentations and stuff. So it must look as if it weighs 5 tons, and they're gonna fix it, and they fix the other things, and they are unbelievable. These guys. And they're also built for Behemoth, But it was Behemoth's tour manager, I think, that told our production manager and Justin, naturally, our manager, about these guys in Poland that are mind-boggling. They oh my God, so glad we ran into them. And then now you will actually see that at some point it's going to be the full production from Europe. This is going to be more than the full production in Europe. You're going to get into the theaters. So we have a challenge. We will have to a few times. I talked to the production manager a few times here that to solve the problem, he said that there's 3 places where you can't have the cross. No, there's not. I said, there is. He said, there's not clearance. They are not going. I'm not playing if they're not there. I fucking guarantee you that. And then I talked to Justin about it, our manager. I said, what do you say? Are we playing if the cross can't be there in some way, shape, or form? It has to be there, right? Oh, yes, that cross has the people. Yeah, it has to be there. So back to the guy, say, okay, let's start thinking here. What can we do? Where can we put it? And then I came up with some places. I said, we can try it here. I think it'll actually create a very unique depth of the whole thing. And then when we have the other things of the arches, then it'll be feeling like a complete, full, perfect package. Not exactly what we designed it to be, but that's only 3 shows. So, but it'll be there.
It's not the LA show, is it?
No.
Good. I can't wait. I can't wait for that.
It'll definitely be full.
Let me ask you something. There was I'm a comedian. I recently opened. opened for Metallica on their 40th anniversary. And I know how much that meant to me because I went to the 30-year anniversaries, and me being from San
Yeah,
Francisco Bay Area and Metallica being my favorite.
yeah,
Let's go through that. You had the triple bypass. You had not sang in a year, and they give you the call and say, "We want to have Merciful Fate play." What is the rundown? Does he call you at first and you say, "How about if I do it?" Or, "I haven't sang in a year. I'm not sure." What was that whole process like? And also talk to me about that secret bridge they had where that way the people outside couldn't see who were the star players were.
but that I don't even know about. That last thing there, that I don't even know about. But I can tell you other stuff. That my first, I was told, don't know if it was an email or it just came through somebody else, maybe. Maybe it was our booking agents. I don't know how it came to me, but I don't think it was just a call straight to me. Hey, you want to come? I think I heard about it and it was said that, can you do something like that there? Because then they'd like to talk to you, something like that. The initial introduction, right? But my first call, if I remember correctly, was to my cardiologist to say, okay, I have this thing I would love to do, but it takes me to San Francisco, so I have to get in an airplane. Can I do that? Is it safe for me to do after the operation, all this stuff? Because I had gone to Volbeat. Volbeat had a show in Dallas, and I went there to just say hi because several of the crew guys were our guys that was on their team, and so I wanted to go down and say hi. But I did not want to stay for the show. I didn't feel good enough at that time. It was maybe 5 months after the operation, and I came into the place, and then they were about to start the sound check. And then they started sound check, and then I had an experience where I had to get the hell out of there. I felt like I was dying.
Wow.
Because everything inside, I have 3 kind of heavy metal bars that are woven together around my rib cage to hold it together afterwards, behind the glued skin, and it had not become completely one piece, you can say. So it was rattling in there behind like crazy because of the bottom end, and it was like, what the hell, I'm dying, what is this going crazy? I got it, so I ran out, and then we just talked more afterwards outside, and then I drove home. I did not stay to see the concert. I couldn't. And so when I came up there, I talked to them about it. He said, I can't tell you because I don't know what happens if you fly. I honestly can't tell you. I don't see there should be anything wrong. I know the pressure and all these things, but it's that one's up to you, I mean, I don't see that there should be anything, but so we arranged that, hey, let's try it. And then you sit there and you are hoping the best, that it goes fine. And then we went there, and we were 4 of us were there. Kim Ross was not there, but the other 4 of us were there. And I actually have an interesting picture of a ghost from the hotel where we stayed at. An actual see-through ghost, that the person that wasn't in the room with us is on the picture. The bar, the hotel, the night before we were playing, it was the 4 of us and Ole Bang, our business companion, you can say, the business associate, also tour managing for us many years. We were there, and my wife was there, and it was last call in the bar. There was just, so we would have been 6 people that was there, and then the bartender. No one was in the bar, absolutely none, And the bartender was calling last call, and this and that. And then there's a photo, we took some pictures, and my wife took some. And there's one where me and Timmy were discussing something, and you can see my hand is up, and you can see there's a little mesh from it, like because I was moving my hand right there. And then there's a person standing over behind us, and it looks like he's wearing a suit, and you can see straight through him.
Wow.
It's not the bartender. He was not dressed like that. Absolutely not. There was no one else in there at all. There's a ghost behind us. Absolutely, 1,000,000% for sure. We've had some other naughty pictures taken once of Jodie on stage, Sweden Rock Festival, playing a song called Shapes of Black. And we have a photo of one of her legs. It's like it's coming through from another dimension. Just her leg is taken through on stage. She acknowledges it's her shoe on that foot, on her, and it's her leg. But the rest of her is not there. And she supposedly is doing stuff behind me. At that point, where I'm singing this thing about shapes of black, and they're coming to me and blah. And then, there is that picture. No one can explain it.
That's crazy.
Anyone that has tried cannot explain it. I went through some extra work to try and get, because I heard there was footage of it from Sweden Rock. They filmed the whole show and put it up on the screens, but they don't keep it, but they had it. They don't give it to anyone. It's just for purposes of while we are playing, so you can see us on the big screens too. And I got that footage from them because I know them very well. So they sent it to me. I said, I have a special purpose. I need to see this song. I know exactly where it happens in the song. So we sit there, me and my wife, and looking at this up. So here comes, man. The hair starts standing on my arm. I'm like seeing some really creepy shit here. Right there, a person walks in front of the camera, blocks it completely. Couldn't see the where it would have happened. So I'm just like, okay, this is kind of like The Omen or whatever, like you see these spears or whatever, and later on they actually people. It's just a very odd thing there, but that was very, very strange, and it's on footage. We have a picture of it. I know that we showed it at one point. A lot of people were just speculating, but it was a digital camera. You can't double exposure. It's not possible. It's just like it was there, So, but yeah, so we were there, and then we were playing the next day. We were doing a sound check during the day to just see how we were doing. It was actually funny, very interesting, because like Metallica, when they recorded the Mercyful Fate method for garaging, they did not contact us for any doubt. They listened to our songs and they put them together in their way, and then they did it their way, which was very, very cool. But here comes the funny thing, so we are about to play it, and they're playing it with Hank and Dana, specifically Hank, who wrote the stuff. And they're standing, and Hank suddenly, well, hey, James, what? Can you play that? Can I see that again? Are you playing it like that? Oh, wow. Yeah, is it not? No, it's like, check this out here. And it's, oh my God, of course. Wow. Okay. I get it. Wow. See, that was it's hard to hear every details on some of those old productions. They have their special feel because of how it was recorded with the sounds. You don't want to change that. Like I talked to Halford when we played Wagen, right before I went on stage actually, and we talked about like old productions that you leave them alone. Don't go and remix them, because if you go that far, you kill the mood. They have a life and an atmosphere, and if you start messing that around, you're gonna you yourself will guarantee be disappointed, because you were standing there and you were like, "That's not what we did, not even close." So you don't do it. He said, if you ever think about it, don't do it. He had just listened the week before in detail. He really wanted to give Abigail not another shot, but feel it, So he had listened to it several times. He told me, man, that's one of those, you can't touch it. Do not ever attempt to touch that album. I listened to it from another viewpoint than you do. I sit with it, like for instance myself, King Diamond sits with it, and I analyze, and I can't stop analyzing. Why is the hi-hat always there? And shit, whether I've had it there now, and if I could only go in and do it again. No. Don't ever do that, So it's like, and I am not that critical with other people's stuff, because in my book, that's what they intended, and that's how it sounds, because that's correct. And other people will probably think the same of our music. If I'm critical of it for some reason, they're like, that should have been better. We should have done this different or whatever. It would have been not correct for other people, because this is not what they heard, and they will accept things as they come, because that is what we meant to do at the time, So it's there's the originality that plays a big role in that stuff, and it's just interesting to hear these things from other people too, that you have always been it's like influenced by and had as people that meant a lot to you as musicians and inspirations and all this stuff, So, but yeah, it's so then comes this test, and we find out that it can actually be played different if you want to do the original version of it, and I guess that's what they played after that, and then I had to start singing. They turned the volume up at the first time there. I was standing there thinking, God, man, am I going to run out here? I had warned them I might run out of here, and then I will come back, so because then it's not the right time, and I don't know if I'll ever do it. But there was no such feelings in the chest about that at all. So I started singing and singing along and feeling it, and like, okay, the voice is still there, because I had literally not warmed up or sung one note in the meantime.
Wow.
Not at all.
Wow.
And then, so it was absolutely cold turkey, and come up there and started to sing a little bit there. And then I started singing more and more. And then I realized something was completely different. And I really had to change my technique on the spot, because I had bigger lung capacity than I had before the operation. I had stopped smoking. There could be part of it too, but because I had to, and it was also cold turkey. And strangely enough, it was not a problem whatsoever. It was just, no, that's it. I like to live. So there's not even a discussion about this stuff here. And then afterwards, it was almost embarrassing sometimes when I smell others smoke, a cigarette, and I'm like, it's not for or against. I mean, I smoked for many years, but it's like, I apologize to Andy for having been such a jerk on the tour buses many times when they came to the back downs and they could barely see us in there. And that was where people would go and smoke, and we could open windows for a little while and so on and so on. But it's like, do you really? For God's sake, man, it can't be that bad, And it is.
It is.
Now I know. Now I know.
I hate it so much, man. And I smoked for years, man. And I get around it now, and I'm like, this is disgusting.
Yeah, you can barely walk on the street. Someone smokes on the other side of the street.
I can smell it. I can smell it. I just said that last night, King. I was going towards the tour bus, and I said to the other guy with me, I said, "Is that weird? There's someone smoking like 2 blocks away, and we can smell it."
Yeah, it's like you get even more. It's the penalty you're going through, the penalty phase for having done it.
Yeah. We are.
But again, I'm not judging people, because I did it, and it is what it is. But I know the health danger is absolutely there, and I know what it did. My voice has never been. I never had such an easy time singing all these things. Actually, when practicing for this set we put together for Mercyful Fate, now it's all old songs except for this 9 minutes. Of course, Mercyful Fate, we don't do a normal 4-minute song first, right? No, we have to dabble into this 8 minutes and 54-second song. It's like, why are we doing this? And we want to play it live, but we don't have time to record it. Yeah, but it'll be fine. Let's just do it. And then, okay, it worked actually. But starting, singing again, The Oath, I've forgotten, honestly, how high it is. I was surprised when I started singing. I was like, oh my God, did I just fuck up here? Did I get myself into something I should not have come in and mentioned to people what we're going to do and this and that without having checked it first, But then when we started, and I started singing it here at my home studio, it's like, okay, this is not a problem, And then the more I did, it's like, oh my God, this is amazing. What a challenge it is to sing it and get it right, and all the little nuances, and it is just reliving what it was like as if we'd just done it, where it's all totally fresh.
Yeah.
It's because it's been 23 years, though. It is. And I don't even know if we played the Oath on the last couple of tours we did. We might not have done that. We had so much material, But now it's like, it has to be that. We have to open with that song. There's no way around it, And then the way we do it is like, it's right.
Oh my
Absolutely
God.
Right.
Are you going in-ear monitors these days?
No. I can't. It's all monitors. It was fun, but somebody got really surprised. I didn't know that they looked at it that way. I tried. I have the nicest set with upside down silver crosses on black background. They are totally custom to my ears and all that stuff. I was 100% sure I was going to do it. And then when I tried it, I sing too loud.
Oh, wow.
Acoustically. So I sing full power when I sing, and it's, when I tested it, it's like the things that touch your bones inside, your skull or your cranium inside there. And I sing, I go really loud. It starts vibrating so bad. I get this note that is a sound inside my head. It's like if you hold your nose and you hold your ears and all this stuff, press hard on it, and I get that, but just way louder. inside. It's like, whoa, 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 what's going on here? And I tried to just have one in, like they were like convertible kind of. You can have it both open, semi-open, and closed completely. None of it worked. Not anything of it. There was for the last King Diamond tour in 2019, and I was trying to do it because I had to go all the way up to the third floor.
Oh, yeah.
We have a ground floor, first floor, and second floor. So there are 3 floors. That's the tallest I've been also on stage. It's pretty creepy up there because it's a narrow bridge up there, and if I don't stand a certain way, I start losing my balance when the drums are playing right under me on the second floor, and the whole thing starts. It's like being on a ship up there. Even though it has some bars that goes down to the floor and out to the back, you can't see to try and stabilize it. It's very exciting, and there's only you can say like a horizontal bar going past me around my stomach, and there's no other bars to stop you from falling down and go under it and fall down onto get speared on some drum gear,
Oh,
so it's exciting, it has its other people that and I hate heights. I don't know why I do this sometimes. It's just like, why these dumb challenges? Why didn't I check the set first before just picking songs and just at first get a scare and think, oh my God, maybe because I like getting scared. Maybe there's something in that. That is a good scare is awesome. When afterwards it's great, but so you get that adrenaline flowing. So, but yeah, the set and all this stuff there, and then it worked, and the lung capacity was bigger, so I had to sing in a different way, use a different technique to do it. But the voice was better, and I can better do all these things that I have to do and do them right, without having to skip. I sometimes sing the long the passages on a good night, in Come to the Sabbath, the real long passages with the da 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 these that we just did now. But in Come to the Sabbath, I have these long passages where we have harpsichords on the recording of it, but they are very long. But I like to challenge sometimes myself and see if I can do them in one go. Take one big breath before I sing each. There are 4 times I have to sing it, and if I can do it, I feel proud of myself afterwards a little bit, if I did it well. Because otherwise, I will take breath halfway through it, and then I know it can sound perfect. But it's nice to be able to do it without taking that breath in the middle, and that's some of those little tests. If it's a good night and there's enough oxygen in the air, which is not always the case, but on the outdoor shows, it was I did it often, so it was pretty cool.
It's amazing to think that you sing all that full power, over the years, I've been lucky enough to, I sang for, years, 35 years, and I've been
Wow.
lucky. Yeah. I was a singer before I was a comedian, and I love singing so much, and it's always an amazing challenge to try a King Diamond vocal or a Rob Halford or those type of vocals. And also later on, if you get into an Axl Rose, who also did 2 different voices, he had the low one and then he had the high.
Yeah.
But it's wild to sit on stage these days and see if somebody's using in-ears, because then you don't really hear anything on the stage, where the old days, you just hear side fills and there's fucking Rob.
Oh, absolutely. That's I have 4 boxes right in front of me, 4 monitors right in front of me. It's mainly vocals. There's barely anything else in those. I get side fills, of course, with drums and guitars. We have stairs coming down that are solid, so no music can come from behind. And then like music, like guitars or bass, it's all in the monitors now.
Wow.
And it has to be, of course, so that if they're the other guys, it's only 2, the Mike Weed on the one side over where the bass guitar also are using in-ear. Hank started doing it on this tour. It was like first time in a long time for him to try, and Bjarne as well tried. None of them could come to terms with it. So 3 of us are not using in-ear. Bjarne has a monitor sitting behind him, smacking him in the face practically from behind. So I get some of that. I get his acoustic drums, but I get the really nice producer from the side fills, And then of course there is two for Hank and two for Mike Reed and the bass player Joey Vera, on the other side there. So if I pass their area, you can say, on the way to the side fields, I get something from there too. And those are places where they can shoot up the stairs. So I also get one time on the stairs, I pick up from different areas until I get to the next safety area. It's like playing a video game, almost like where can I rest next time, And I get upstairs. I have upstairs on each side of the altar. There is one on each side. There's a left and there's one right on up against the altar and one left on the opposite side of that upper stage. Then I have two smaller ones in front of the altar where I can stand almost on a little balcony there, where two smaller ones that shoot right up in my ears as if they were big headphones and just shooting right in the ear. That's the ones I have. But then I have set up with the monitor guy, so I have the whole stage in stereo. And some of it is in... it is kind of stereo, but it's also based on where. Downstairs, right in the middle, I have my own stuff there, and it's set so that I get the Hank guitar on out of the two left ones, and my guitar out of the right left of the two right ones. So I get them in stereo there. Bass is a little bit on both of them, but not much bass. There's so much coming from underneath the stage, usually. So you want to keep that to them. You want to hear the notes, but you don't want to hear the big thump. And then if I move over towards Mike Reed, then Mike Reed gets louder, and Hank gets a little fainter. So standing over on their side, Hank is not as loud, but Mike is louder. Go the other side, the closer I get to Hank, the louder he gets. Walk up the stairs, come upstairs over with Hank's side. I hear Hank's more, even though I don't really hear the ones from downstairs where Hank stands. But I now hear those upstairs. They are also geared with Hank loudest and Mike loudest. I walk in towards the middle upstairs. These two are set like downstairs, where it's Hank left, Mike right. I walk over to my Reed's side upstairs. He gets louder and louder over there, so I hear him most. So it's like, if I want to hear, I don't count any measures. I never did, It's like I know every little bend in their guitar solos. So there's a guitar solo, I know exactly when to come back in, If one of them break a string in a guitar solo, I am 100% fucked. I have no chance. I have to seek over to the other guitarist and simply like mimic to it. I have no idea where I am. You have to nod to me so that I know when to start singing again.
Wow.
Because I'm lost. So I just, I know every little detail in the solos when they play. So I have no need for it in general. But that's also why if I need to hear that, I will seek towards Hank. I know who's playing solos when, So I seek over to Hank on his solo a little bit if I need it. If I don't need it, it doesn't matter where I am, And then I run up the stairs, downstairs, into the dressing room, which is the altar, and exchange costume in there, get the other jacket on, or suddenly the crown is on, or whatever, So it's a lively stage, but in a whole different way than King Diamonds, where it's choreographed, where I have to be certain spots to meet up with Jodie as grandma or whatever she's playing in the various songs. We play a lot of theater, that has to happen in certain spots, and the others are where I can't be here at that time because then we'll kick you. And otherwise, with Mercyful Fate, it's not so much there. I'm the one that's a lot of different places, So they might move around more, but see, if you don't use in-ear, then it's different. Hank has not ventured all the way up to the top, up to the second floor yet in those shows we played, because he moves up more and more. And then he has also to be close to his pedals in some way. Sometimes he presses the one to give him an extra kick for the solo, So he has to be there. He has to be back there at the same time when or do the same thing when it's over, So you can't go too far away. You could have your guitar tech punch those buttons out of stage, and just do it over by their stands and have them control it. Then you don't have to do it. But in here, you can go anywhere and play. So there are some limitations. He actually had to play with a wire, a lead in his guitar at one show where he had bad connection. And his his wireless guitar system didn't work, so he actually had to play one of it was Las Vegas, I think he was playing with it, where that was bad. So that was back to the early days, and feel that thing lying there. You take and shake it a little to get it out of you. You don't want to stand on it all the time. But yeah.
Let me ask you something. I've heard this from every band that was on Garage Inc., but all of them said that because of Garage Inc., they've had a fine income coming in over the years, because of them covering Metallica, covering their songs. So that has to be quite a good help too on down times and everything, where you get this Metallica mailbox check. Is that right?
Right when it came out, yeah, it was nice. I got a Corvette out of it at the time. I could not have bought. Yeah, I got a black Corvette at that time that I could not have gotten otherwise. I had a Trans Am. I sold that and got a Corvette. So that was in initial impact. At the time. Now it's like I guess if they do something special with it or whatever, then it does something. But that's not what I live off. I can tell you that.
Oh yeah,
The same with I did something with Volbeat, a song that I did half the lyric for, and it was nominated for Grammy, right? But it was it's not like what I can't eat off of it. I can't pay rent or anything of it. That's our own stuff. That is doing quite well now. Our own stuff is doing. The tours are doing good. After management is on, there's more projects going on all the time. So it's all the fresh new things are great. But see that there's something that is special about us, that we have not had the full effect of what can happen to you in this business, and that is to have an album released and having a strong, powerful management. That has not happened to us yet. We at the time we released the last album, from whether it was King Diamond or Mercyful Fate, we were doing everything ourselves from day one and learned the hard way all the way up, and didn't have these powerful managements to open doors for us, and get new deals for this and that and better points and all this stuff. It's there now, and I can't wait to get these albums out for the first time. We are working hard to get this long single finished. It's going to be so different for people to hear it who already heard it live, to hear it full of choirs and all kinds of stuff. And I can't do that live naturally myself. And it'll have brand new moods and feelings in there. The intro has not even been played. Hank just starts playing it on his guitar. There's an intro with bells, and I'm talking like I'm this old bishop in the beginning, like in the year of our Lord, whatever. But to hear that intro, it puts me in the mood for, okay, I'm there. And then the whole song with all the things that come in, the harmony guitars, and there's so much stuff that will be recorded for that song. It's going to be, Saints Fall has all kinds of stuff on it. It'll be the same full on with this. I'm back to my best perception of vocals that I used to have in the earliest days. That has always been the best in my opinion, but weaved away from it because of other people whispering in your ear a lot of time, where you're like, yeah, okay, well, maybe it's backing vocals here. Think about this, like a lead and bang, like, yeah, well, it was always everything was lead vocal to me, It's like anything goes kind of philosophy, and it's 1,000% that again. I don't care what anyone says to me. It's my vision. It's how I want the vocals to be. If I want a choir to dance left and right, then the whole choir will do it. It will find a way to do it. And those are the effects. I like all this crazy. Whoa, did I just hear that? Oh my God. Play it one more time. Oh my God, it's the whole choir is just coming by you. That's the fun things, backwards, reverbs, all these things and tricks you can do for the purpose of the song, to underline the mood that you want to enhance to people and stuff like that. Feel more of what it is. Read the lyric at the same time if you don't know it completely in and out, and get that thrill out of it, And that's what this song is right now. I've already done on the demo. I used 3 vocals just so I had 3. I could do a lead. I always do a lead double. I have to be really precise, but I can be quite precise, with my own voice. So I always do a lead double to get that natural chorus feel instead of just putting a chorus on it. And then the backing vocals are in sets of two. Spread, they have their spread, how they spread out further and further out. So each set, I know, as I say, set 4 is the ones that are the furthest out. So maybe there are 8 backing vocals used in a little choir thing, Can use more if it needs. Can use less, sometimes, and then the lead and the lead double in the middle, But all that stuff is definitely going to be there. There's so many cool things, so many odd harmonies too. There's some quite odd harmonies in the quiet, and I actually singing one of those odd harmonies, so you don't hear the underlying front harmony of it. The lead you don't hear of the quiet pieces in this new song. It's one of the odd harmonies I'm actually singing now because I feel like it gives the most or the closest of that feel. But there's a lot of stuff, and there is I don't know if Joey plays these bass notes live. If he doesn't, I should actually mention to him that he needs to do it, the bass player, because I just found out here 2 days ago how important they are to sing that piece when I am in recording mode, because without, there's a few bass notes underneath it. Now and then I hit them, not singing on them. I have a totally different of my own melody line that I do over the clean guitars that's in there. And then there's harmonies on top of it. So it happens several places where Hank will play some harmony guitar and say, okay, let's see if we collide here, because I'm also doing harmonies here, but I'm doing 2 harmonies. Actually, I'm building each time an extra one on these parts. And it's a place he called Doom Heavy. There's a lot of singing the word Lucifer in many different ways, And it's going to be a lot of fun to record the real thing. But I have a lot of these harmonies already mapped out in just with one voice, and then I try to, is it good to have, oh yeah, perfect, this is another place. So I left these raw demo things in there so I can go back in and do this, because I have to work more on the demo to get the last passage that I have not finished yet, finished with the right lyrics and including the right things on that heavy old castle there.
So you have a new King Diamond record that's going to be coming out, right? And then a new Mercyful Fate full record?
It'll be full records for both of them, yeah. I mean, right now, it's all the COVID, that makes things complicated and different. King Diamond was supposed to, right now, this tour that is going on here with Mercyful Fate was supposed to be a King Diamond tour. And there were certain things that with COVID that we didn't get the studios done in time, but we are writing music for both bands. And there's another song that has recorded drums and guitars for Mercyful Fate in a way where it's ready for me to do my vocals. I know what the title is going to be of it and what it's all about. I know what I've seen the cover of the single. I have the cover of the other single, the Jaguar Salzburg, what it's going to look like. I have actually the cover of the next Mercyful Fate album. The back side is almost finished except for all the song titles, because we don't have all the titles yet. And it's once you see it and once you understand the whole thing is full circle. It is so full circle, and you will understand what I'm trying to say now. And I don't want to say it because I will reveal something that I shouldn't do right now. But then you will say, oh, now I see what it was you meant about the front cover, and it's full circle, and we do something different right now. Each song that might be revealed before the real album comes out will have its own cover, and those covers are very special because of what I'll tell you at another time. Brian Slagle, is heavily, what can I say, like part of what we're going to do and when we're going to do, because we promised him a certain thing. When the COVID started and all this stuff, it's like, okay, now both bands, actually also he's of course super happy for that. We are all super happy for that. But King Diamond was supposed to have the album out next, The Institute. Now the Institute is going to be a 2-album story. So the first one here, the song Masquerade of Madness that we kind of toured, and that was the cover. It's on the t-shirts and all this stuff, right, of the album. It's not going to be the cover anymore. It's going to be something different by the guy that was involved in my if he's not been asked yet, so he might hear this and say, "Oh, really?" But I really want him to do the front cover. I know exactly what it's going to look like, and it's going to be so amazing in the full concept, because we will be able to put characters from that front cover on stage. And the stage that King Diamond is going to have is something that I swear you've not seen it on stage before. The way it's going to be lit will not be a way you like a metal stage. It's going to be so horror. I told Andy already, you need to prepare, and I need to know from you, can you play in Almost Darkness? Because there are certain times that you will have to play in Almost Darkness. We don't want to see you really. We just want to see you maybe as a silhouette or whatever. But what do you need to play? How little light can you play in? And the way the set is going to be will be, if I left the stage, it would be alive. Still, it would be alive. And when we're on it, I would love to have it so that, well, it's just a stage, it's not real. But if you just got that little doubt, I want it so that you don't want to go up there. I want Mercyful Fate now, when we play, to make people feel a little bit, at least some people out there, that maybe they should go to their local priest and ask forgiveness, because you were just at a Mercyful Fate show and you did something nasty by being there. You were present in these things, the stuff that was sung, the stuff that was said, all these things, it's like, and you should feel uneasy. Maybe you should go and visit. Certainly, I wouldn't suggest you go there at all, but it's like, but that's like, you follow your own things. Everybody is entitled to their ways and stuff like that. And I respect whatever you do, as long as people respect each other. That's the main thing in my book. But that the King Diamond stuff, we could not go out and because we are not done with the full album. We are writing. I mean, 2 of Andy's songs. God, there's so much to say. And let me say this first here. My involvement in Andy's songs and in Hank's songs, I write my own songs too, completely separate from theirs. I mean, I write the majority of the King Diamond. I've always done that, both music and, of course, all the lyrics. But what I've done so far of Andy's and of Hank's is how it's always been done in the old days. I'm the one with the big scalpel, Hank comes with a song to me, the Jackal of Salzburg, for instance, the new one. I think it was 7 minutes and 24 seconds when he brought it to me. And now it's 8 minutes and 54, almost 9. And it's what I hear, and I have the vocals in my head, I know what kind of things I might go, and there's places that, no, that you call it the verse, that I would rather not sing all that part. Maybe you can use it for something else, mood, or maybe solo. I mean, I don't know. That solo part you have at the end, I have to sing over that. Well, you can still play solo over it, but it has to be somewhere else also for vocals. You can have it. It doesn't have to be that I also play solo, but it's not a bad thing. We can do that too. But it's like that, and then I cut and I copy, paste, and this and that. And so, okay, here's a model I would like it to put together, Hank. And he's looking. Sometimes it's like, wow. Oh yeah, I like that riff a lot too. We can do that more, of course. And then he does it, and he starts playing it, and he records it, and more he gets into it. Then suddenly, it happened here, like it also did many times before. It's like, oh my God, it sounds so Mercyful Fate now. I can't believe what a change it has made. It's like, wow. So there is a certain Mercyful Fate mood in the music, and in the lyrics, of course, too. But and Hank writes Mercyful Fate riffs, maybe even better than me. But I have a different style, and I don't think The Oath is a bad song, or Come to the Sabbath. But I have a different style than Hank that I write with, and he has like also this incredible riff master thing going on, and it just works so well when we do things this here. And I get them from Andy too. And I learned the songs on guitar, so I sit and play with Hanks, and I find some of the harmonies I want to use for my vocals by knowing the riffs and playing them on guitar. And then I start harmonizing on the guitar, and I come up with some things like that. I did the same with Andy, so I have a good feeling initially. Is this going to be good to sing on or not? Sometimes we might want to change the key or whatever to get the ultimate out of it. But that was something with Andy where I came up with something, and it was like a different kind of chords I used in a place I would normally not have chords for vocal. But I think it's going to be absolutely a cool new spot I haven't been before for that one of these 2 songs I have cut to pieces of Andy's too, and we put them together, or he put them together afterwards, and they are amazing King Diamond stuff, and total Andy LaRock King Diamond stuff of the best possible part, the old style part, you can say, and then he tried these things, and at first he said, I can't move out of this area because then I can't get back into this verse or whatever it was that came after it. Like, there is a place you can try. I tried it. If you just humor me, try this. And then he came back, oh my God, I had not expected that. I said, yeah, wasn't it just like really different, but in a very cool way? So it's like, don't leave any stone unturned, try it, see it. And so we do a lot of this stuff. So the plans, because of all these things and how we're doing all this stuff here, and I have so much stuff of mine that I am going to contribute with as well, and I could hum you a full song right now, the Institute, the title track. I could hum it for you. I have the whole thing. I've tried to play through it on guitar, the main stuff, and it works so good. So there's a lot of other stuff. There's a little piece of music that is going to be otherworldly because it's something that is being experienced on another plane that is not right here, but connected in a way. And so it's something that people are very accustomed to there. They are familiar with that song. I am having to come to this place in a very special way. And now I am experiencing, I hear this song and they tell me, hey, here's a test for you. If you say you are really from here, let's hear you sing along. And I have no clue what this thing is. And I say, oh, if you don't know this, then you're not from here. And there's a little girl that's playing it on a piano, the daughter of the big doctor from the Institute, the guy that runs the Institute. Is his daughter that is kind of imprisoned somewhere in this place, and then she has the things she likes to do. And there's a lot of characters in the story. You will see them on the front cover, the main characters. I would hope that there's room for 7 of them to be seen on the front cover and that can be portrayed on stage. The actual characters you see. And this guy that has this, in the King Diamond graphic novel, the Abigail that was out there are some paintings on the walls, some places on the hallway. There you see his style that I want to use for these characters. It's a whole different style than he uses in the graphic novel, except for these portraits that hang at one specific place where they walk upstairs. I think the first time in the mansion, they see these portraits. There you can see, if you zoom in on them, if you can see them really, or use a magnifying glass on, you will see a certain style of horror creatures, of horror human beings. That will be the specimens that are running around at the Institute. Stage production that we're going to have will be so extremely unique. I do not want to waste it on having 3 or 4 songs and a mini LP out, and then so we can just go out and tour King Diamond. We can go out, make some money. I can't waste it. I simply cannot wait. We have to have the next King Diamond finished so we go out and tour the album full circle. No more crap and bullshit. It's everybody deserves the full treatment, no less. And that's what it's going to be. That will be the next album that comes out first. That will be the next album. Mercyful Fate will have maybe a couple of singles coming out. In the meantime, even after we're done, there might be another single coming out. Maybe that one I said that is ready for me to start working on as well. It's a 4-minute song. And very, the style is also absolutely perfect. But it's there's still a cycle that we are doing now with Mercyful Fate, and with some new stuff. And I can't wait for this single to come out because it's not like, I already heard it live. No, you didn't. You might have heard a song live, but wait till you hear this version, the real version of it. That's a whole new life. And so it's different. It's just a little awkward because it's the other way around. It should have been first before you went out tour, right? But it's like, whatever. Mercyful Fate is not normal. It never will be. It never will be. So we do it as it happens, and as the world happens, as we are allowed to do it, because we are not in full control all the time, and we've been given some different roads to have to take, to get further down the road. There's been some, what do you call them, umleitung, some ways you just had to go the long way, and it's all fine. But so that the exam will come out with a full album, but Mercy will definitely do a full album. Absolutely. I mean, it's and there's lots of material. Hank he sent me 10 songs. I said, I'm also gonna write stuff, pal. And I have ideas for stuff too, and I have titles for them. Actually, the title of the album, I'm gonna be writing that song for the Mercy as well as for the King Diamond. Have a clear idea about that, and I could give it to you right now. And that title of the album is the title of a. Oh God, I shouldn't say this to you. It's the title of a painting.
Oh shit!
But that's it.
A little teaser there.
Yeah, a little bit. But so that's what that is, the title, the front cover of the Mercyful Fate album. It's actually hanging in my house.
Oh shit! I can't wait to see you October. I think it's 28th in Los Angeles at that new theater there.
It's gonna be so dark and so cool.
I'm looking forward to meeting you again. I met you years ago at the Omni backstage when we were quite young. I was I was a kid, but I'm looking forward to seeing you and talking to you in person, man.
Absolutely the same.
I just absolutely love everything you've ever done, and you are just the real deal, the king out there of all metal. You're still in Texas, right?
Yeah.
What made you land in Texas all those years ago?
Well, I mean, when we were touring Fatal Portrait, we landed, had a couple of extra days in Texas, and I got sunburned, so it's so bad. That's a whole story in itself. But we got to know a police officer down there that was a 5-tour Vietnam veteran, and he became one of my best friends, and we were hanging out at the time down there and got introduced to Joe Anthony, a very famous DJ down there that helped Judas Priest. He helped Rush. Wow. in the Texas area, at least. Lex Diamond, all these. He knew everybody. The ring I wear on stage with the big ivory head in it is one I was given by him. It's an old Mexican witch doctor ring that was used in rituals down there hundreds of years ago, he said to me. And when he had it for me, there was the ones that I flew down to see Metallica down in San Antonio. He had promised me that he would have the ring for me there as well. And when I met him there, he said, "You're not going to believe this. It's gone. I can't find it. I know exactly where it should be in a drawer, and it's not. I don't know what to tell you. I don't know. It's not a bad excuse for anything. It's whenever I find it, you come and get it, But I don't know what to tell you. Okay, no problem." And then later on, he found it in the drawer. He said, so it was there the whole time. Maybe not in this world, but that's where it showed up again. He said so. But I have it, and I have used it on every single show ever since. And he was a very good friend of ours too. With help us with the record, with all the records, that we did, and that promoting them through his radio station, all this stuff. And so I had some people down there, and I liked Texas a lot because I got to know them. My ex-wife was from Dallas.
Oh, wow.
So that's why it became Dallas, I could say. But I did like Texas because of these other guys I met down there, in San Antonio. And the river walk is beautiful. It's maybe a little too humid for me down there. It's a little less humid up here, but still, we also get humidity in Dallas, and I take it as a nice challenge for when I do my heavy walks, for getting in shape. And the endurance is the main thing for me to get through shows, up and down the stairs and still singing. And I mean, I imagine that I breathe so way less times than the other guys are able to. Things that, if they get out of breath, I have to and hold the breath while I slowly get it out, and then I can take another one a little later and then let it out slow again, and the oxygen doesn't really get in there. Not enough always, especially indoor shows can be nice challenges. So you need to be in shape, and and make sure that you don't get the heartbeat doesn't go through the roof or anything like that. So but where I live is that's a nice hilly challenges, for me to walk, and just started the long walks the other day, and the first one was in 80% humidity, so it definitely helps you get the stamina up when you work through these things, which is absolutely necessary. So I'm very happy to be here. But we also been moved like 20 minutes north from where we were before, and man, the air is so much cleaner here. Just 18 minutes north, man. Where we were before, it was Frisco, Texas. It was very. It's built out so much now that there's barely anywhere they can build anything anymore. So there's so much traffic now. I mean, Toyota has a main factory there. The Stars are practicing there. The Cowboys are practicing there. I mean, everything is there, it seems like, and there's so many jobs. I heard there's as many jobs up there in Frisco as there is downtown now. So it's completely built out, and it's moving up this way where we went now, But right now the air is so much cleaner. Driving into Frisco, I can feel how the air gets dirty, So it's I'm very happy where I am now. It's really nice.
You still got the Corvette?
No, it's not. It's not that. Gone through a couple of other cars since then.
Are you a car guy? You like?
I love driving. That's one of the ways I relax by driving. I love it,
Yeah.
And playing video games. That's another way of relaxing, big time. I mean, get away from all the stress, with the music business, and then that's one of the two things I like to do.
What cars you into?
I like Porsche a lot.
Oh, my favorite 911s, GT3s. Yeah. I like the GT3 Touring. It's my favorite car. No, I don't like the wing.
Yeah.
What a great car.
911 4S, tuned and lowered and very loud. Then it's me coming by.
Ah, shit. King Diamond in a 911. I love it.
Yeah, it's. I mean, they tuned it. It's got the very very powerful air intake from the dealership, but the Fab Speed got some parts with the catalytic converter system on it, and the headers and stuff like that on it. So it's the turbos, or they ring. The sound is so raw, but the turbo. If you drive to a neighborhood, man, it's a concerto of brutal. Absolutely, it's so, but not a nasty. It's just the perfect, absolutely. I could not have. This is my dream sound of any car ever. Wow. It sounds like a race car, I mean, driving on the street. It's lower too from the factory, so it's the stance is really, really nice, and it's fast. It's very, very cool. It's perfect for me, And sometimes with the dealership, they have these things. They used to call them the Porsche rallies, but they don't want to call them that anymore. Now it's called appreciation drives.
Right.
So, but usually there's actually police there sometimes. So when they let 30 Porsches out of the dealership's area after an early breakfast, and then we drive north of around some lakes, and they get punched. I can tell you, they really get punched, and they go fast in the corner. It's where there's just two cars can just pass each other out on these smaller roads, and lots of corners, lots of testing how much it actually can hold, and it's massive. The handling is so insane.
Wow.
On these cars, so we go out there and then really punch them and have a fun time, and but it's done very safe. I mean, that's no one overtakes each other whatsoever. It's not like that. You keep your place, whether you punch it and you test your brakes and your other things. It's fun. It's massive fun. I guess the dealerships get their money back by worn tires and other stuff like that. So,
oh yeah, tire wear.
Yeah.
Are you a comedy guy? You watch stand-up comedy at all?
I certainly like that, yeah. I have not gone to it for a long time because of COVID, I guess, so it's like, but if you're in town, man, I mean...
I'd love to see you.
Come and say hi, man.
I will. Yeah. I'll come out. And I want to thank Brian Slagle for setting this up. Slagle is just a king of metal and Metal Blade. And just a solid human. And he said a few years ago, I'll get you an interview with King Diamond. It'll happen. And here it is, episode number 666. I cannot thank you enough for doing the show. I can't wait to see you at the in LA at that theater there.
Thanks for having me, man.
Oh my God, dude. It was an honor to have you
It's been
on.
a pleasure the whole way through, man. Absolutely. It's we got to hook up again, definitely.
I can't wait to meet you
Yeah.
face to face again. And I got to tell you, Don't Break the Oath is an absolute masterpiece to me. Of course, I love Melissa, but to me, it just feels like the ultimate metal album. Don't Break the Oath. The cover, the songs, the titles, everything. So thank you for all the metal you've brought. And years of the King Diamond solo records. And I cannot wait to see you.
We have more to come, and it's that old raw nerve that is there more than ever. I can tell you, for both bands. I mean, it's going to be if we're allowed, it's going to be some amazing years coming out for all of us.
That's great. Thank you so much, man.
And thank you. Take care, man. Be safe. Be safe. Stay heavy.
Later, buddy. Stay heavy.
Bye.